Good evening, everyone. Kevin Crouch here with South Metro Weather. This is the first stream with the South Metro Weather brand, and so I want to welcome anyone from the other counties that we have added, Navarro, Hill, Johnson counties. And I want to ask you to first, before we do anything, if you'll share this post, this stream, share the link, share it around. That way we have as many people clued in on this as possible, because these storms are intensifying. And as you have probably seen all day, we've been talking about this severe weather event. Now, what you see behind me is the severe thunderstorm warning that just went out for Johnson County here. Pretty good timing. I'm going to put, we have, for those that are new, we have a banner that I'll go ahead and put on the screen here just so that you know that we are under a severe thunderstorm warning in part of the area. So here's Johnson County, here's that severe thunderstorm warning, and here's the line that we're watching. Now, you've probably heard the reports out of Fort Worth where there have been reports of 80-mile-an-hour winds that have been setting off power flashes and spreading debris. I saw a video a short time ago from Weatherford, and it was pretty intense out there. I mean, it was really not playing any games. So this line right now, the primary threat from this line is those damaging winds, 70 to 80-mile-an-hour winds possible. I don't believe that the winds are as intense in this section of the storm that will be moving into Johnson County here shortly. In fact, we'll just take a quick look at the wording of the warning here. So let's take a look and see what this is advising. It's moving east at 40 miles per hour. Yes, 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts with that storm. So 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts are possible here. We'll zoom in a little bit. And so the storm is moving through Granbury now, and it's moving pretty quickly. 40 miles per hour is not exactly creeping along. It's also not as fast as the storm in the Weatherford area that was moving closer to 50 or 60 miles per hour, but it is moving at a decent clip. So, and we'll zoom out and talk about all the other counties in just a moment. We're only getting started, folks. Nobody's in the clear yet. we are just getting started this evening. But this is the line that we are watching moving through Granbury right now. That will be moving towards Godley and Crescent here in just really Crescent is just starting to get the leading edge of this. Looks like the outflow boundary is moving through Godley and Burleson right now. Joshua as well will be moving towards Granbury, Cleburne shortly. I want to zoom out just a little bit and let's take a look at the whole area and just kind of give you a perspective of what's going on. So here's the South Metro area. You have Ellis, Johnson, Navarro, and Hill counties. Here is that line. And this line really spans the state. I mean, it's a decent-sized line. There's this outflow boundary that is pushing out in front of this storm. And while that will bring damaging winds in some places, the good news is that will mitigate the tornado risk for at least as long as that outflow boundary is there. Because what it's doing is it's impeding the inflow that often interacts with the cool air coming out of the storm to produce that rotation. So as long as that outflow boundary is in place, we will be in a better position to hopefully avoid any tornadic weather that comes out of this. And it's not exactly moving too terribly fast. This may end up being the longest stream I've done yet, because I will be streaming for, like I said, these 4 counties. So we're starting here, and I'll be streaming probably until it leaves Navarro County. This is not the kind of system that's like some of them where by the time it gets to the 45 corridor, it starts falling apart. I do think that this is going to be a long-haul deal. So we're in this for the long haul, and I'm sure tomorrow I will enjoy the cool, sunny day we have planned for tomorrow in the forecast, resting, hopefully. And so, as this continues to move on eastward, we will be monitoring this. I do have a velocity view, which I need to start working with. So if I lean over a little bit, I have a velocity view which tells me the wind speed, wind direction. And so we will be watching that not only for those damaging wind gusts, but also for those areas of rotation where we could see that. And I have information from the National Weather Service too. So if you're new to these streams, this is kind of the way it goes. I show you on radar things that are going on. I show you time, hopefully the time it's going to be arriving. I try to show you what to expect, where to expect it, just kind of a play-by-play of these storms. And I know there are different sources that will be streaming throughout the night. I'm not here to compete with anyone. I am here to provide an option. If this is the format that works best for you, there are some folks that prefer other streams. That is totally okay by me. I don't mind one bit. I just want you to be informed. So as this system continues to move off to the east, we've been talking today about how we were in that enhanced risk, and that was then increased to a moderate risk across the area. I was just talking to my friend Matt, who helps with the chat session and those kind of things, some of the back end stuff while I'm here on camera. We were talking about the fact that this almost looks like it's a little bit overwhelming, or underwhelming rather, so far. What I want you to understand is that this is just starting to move into what we consider to be the area of more instability, more unstable air. So this could very well end up being a more serious event over the next several minutes. And I will go ahead and tell you too, if you send a message to the page, if you got something specific you are asking for in the chat, I may not necessarily be able to get to that. We're covering 4 counties here, especially, I mean, when I was just covering Ellis County, it was a hard time to get to every individual thing. I won't be able to answer about every town, about every street. That's just the way it is. I'm going to be covering a lot of areas, and this is going to be a long haul system. So just so you know, with these streams, I may not be able to answer every question, but don't think you're not being heard. It's just that I may not have necessarily gotten to your area yet, but I will make sure that all 4 counties are covered. For right now, this is the storm. Let's put this into motion here so you can kind of see what we're dealing with. I mean, this line, number one, let me say that I don't think there's a single community anywhere in these 4 counties, Ellis, Navarro, Johnson, or Hill, that will not be affected by these storms. We're only getting started, folks. So if you're asking if one town or another is in the clear, no, we're just getting started. I mean, unless the impossible happens and this storm just completely falls apart out of nowhere, unless that happens, we're not done. We're not close to anywhere near done. We have a tornado watch until 10 p.m. that covers all 4 counties. So this line, the good news is I do expect it to be gone probably by 8, 9, 10 o'clock. So that will be the good news, that it won't be too late a night. But it is moving in right around prime time. So I know there's a lot of events that are going on right now. I know the Waxahachie Chamber of Commerce has their event going on. There's a lot of folks that are riding on this event trying to figure out what to do and how to change plans rather, how to do certain things. The fact of the matter is that, I mean, we've got severe storms coming in, and there's really no avoiding them at this point. But as I mentioned, the main issue, the main threat, is going to be those the potential for those damaging winds. And there's a lot of stuff coming into the chat session, the communications with the National Weather Service. There's a lot of stuff in the chat too. If you could see this room right now, it's a little bit like, there's a little bit of sensory overload here. So again, if there's information that comes in somewhere, if there's something that's mentioned in the chat and I don't respond to it immediately, have patience, we'll get there. And I do have Matt in my ear as well. He'll be able to communicate things to me as well. So we're just getting started. I mean, it's just turned 6 o'clock. So we've got 4 hours left of this tornado watch. So let's do this together. So we'll zoom in a little bit and kind of give you a better idea. And I don't know if you can hear the kind of the sweeping sounds in the background. If you do hear that, that's just letting me know that a new image on the radar is here, a new radar sweep. What the radar does is it rotates and it covers an area around, and the radar is actually right here near Burleson. That's why you see that kind of blank disc there. That's the radar location. It can't look straight up. So just understand that if you hear that sound or something like that in the background, that's all that is. So here's that outflow boundary. So just now moving into Cleburne, moving into Joshua and Burleson, that's going to bring some gusty winds, but again, that should help to mitigate any possibility of getting rotation and getting those brief spin-ups along this line. Something else I want to say about this is that where that line is, you could very easily, you can get these spin-up tornadoes. They happen very fast, okay? Very fast. And so just understand that sometimes these spin up tornadoes are we don't catch them until they're on the ground. That's why it's so important when something like this is moving in to take it seriously and to really try to make sure that you are prepared ahead of time. And usually we can see when it's coming, but we do our best, but we can't always get there, right? It's not a perfect science. I'm looking outside right now. I'm in Waxahachie, and we've got breaks in the clouds. I mean, it doesn't look that intimidating, but of course, I can't see west of me. I'm sure if I was outdoor looking to the west, we would be able to see this line moving through. And it's just now getting into Johnson County here. So it's just moving into Crescent there, El Tesoro there, and Godly. You're right on the cusp of the beginning of that thing. Again, Cleburne, Joshua, Burleson, you are getting that outflow boundary now. Next in line will be Keene, and then Alvarado, and Lillian, and all these communities off to the western portions of Johnson County. We'll get that next, and then it'll be on to Ellis County from there. So bear in mind, again, that the main risk at this point is going to be those damaging winds. Now, we were able to avoid getting any of those individual cells, those supercell thunderstorms, ahead of the line. At least we have so far. We'll expand the view here, and thus far, any opportunities, or any chances rather, of creating those individual storms across our area have not been successful. So the fact is that now we just have to deal with this straight line, which is positive in a way because we don't have that heightened tornado risk that came with those individual cells. The bad news is that we do still have this line, and any chance at all of stabilizing the air or anything ahead of this line, it's gone. So this line will be moving into warm, unstable air, plenty of it that's been undisturbed really throughout the day. So this area is fertile for severe weather, and I expect this line to be intense all the way through, all the way from northwestern Johnson County all the way down to southeastern Navarro County when it finally exits. So we have a little bit of a quiet moment here. I do want to tell you that this warning goes until 7:15. So it's about, this warning has about another hour in Johnson County, and then they have been issuing those downstream warnings pretty quickly. So I'm pretty sure around 7 o'clock probably or so, depending on when it gets closer to Ellis County, they will issue that. Same thing for Hill County. As this section near Glen Rose moves towards Hill County, that warning will be issued as well. And then really Navarro County will probably be the last of the four to be issued there. So Ellis, Navarro, and Johnson counties, if you're in those counties, you are not warned yet, and you are not in the clear. This line will still be moving your direction. So as it continues to move on to the east, again, you will be impacted by this line one way or the other. So it is way too early for anyone to be considered in the clear at this point. And yes, there are sirens that are going off. I understand Dallas and Grapevine and Arlington, Farmers Branch, Euless, areas up in Tarrant County are sounding those outdoor sirens. And a note on that, you'll find a lot of kind of things that I try to touch on when these storms are just arriving. These outdoor warning sirens, people call them tornado warnings or tornado sirens. They are not meant to be relied upon indoors. That's not the purpose of them. They are supposed to be relied upon outdoors. When you're outside, that is the time to basically pay attention for those, because they are built to alert people who are outdoors. It's possible that we could see these come in and these sirens activated as they are right now across Tarrant and Dallas counties, activated for those strong winds. So they're not exclusively used for tornadoes, at least not anymore. Different municipalities usually have their own criteria. I'm pretty sure with 70+ mile per hour winds, everybody will probably be sounding them tonight. I understand that, for example, Ennis and Ellis County, they only sound them if there's a tornado warning, so they may not for these winds, but I think most communities will. But again, if you're indoors, that's not the place to listen to the sirens. If you're indoors, you should just be watching this stream or some other source. But just understand that if you're, if you're indoors as opposed to outside, don't listen for the sirens. Don't wait for that to be your signal. You may not be able to hear them. And if you're in a rural area, those sirens are usually in urban areas. If you're in a rural area, probably not going to hear them because there's not one nearby you. There might be. You might be lucky. For the most part, though, they are not. So this line is going to continue to move towards the Cleburne area. So we're going to go ahead and zoom into Johnson County, which again has this severe thunderstorm warning effective until 7:15. So about another hour there. And just keep in mind that, if I'm not showing your community, means nothing's happening there yet. So don't be too concerned if your town is not on the map. Be glad things are quiet for the moment. But this is where we are watching this line continue to move east. 70-mile-per-hour winds are possible. The threshold for severe thunderstorm warnings is 58 miles per hour or higher. We are looking at possibly 70 miles per hour. So this is well in the severe thunderstorm warning parameters for sure. Definitely within that limit. We have this outflow boundary that looks to me, and we may need to watch a few more scans here. It almost looks like this is like the convection here, the storm is starting to catch up to this outflow boundary. And if that does happen, if and when, I'm sure it probably will eventually. I think that outflow boundary will kind of run out of steam at some point and the convection will eventually catch up to it. And if it does, then that will kind of reignite our potential for those spin-up tornadoes on the leading edge. So time will tell if that's going to continue to move east. Something to bear in mind is when we have these 70-mile-an-hour winds, those can do just as much damage as a weak tornado. 70-mile-an-hour winds can damage a roof, damage a home, especially depending on what kind of home you're in. I know there's power flashes being reported now in downtown Grapevine up in Dallas County. So 70-mile-per-hour winds can definitely do some damage, and you want to make sure that you are certainly away from windows. So make sure you're on the bottom floor of any building that you're in, any home. And if you can, go ahead and go into the center of your home. Pretty much treat it as a tornado. It's not as strong as a lot of tornadoes are that get up to 100, 150, 200 miles per hour. But 70-mile-an-hour winds are still enough to do damage. And so you need to take those things into consideration. Obviously, if you have outdoor items that are loose that you would like to keep at your home, maybe bring those in, tether those down, whatever the case is. But the main thing is you want to protect yourself. So just make sure that you take those precautions if you are in one of these severe thunderstorm warnings where you have these 70-mile-per-hour winds moving your way. So that's a new update, and I really do think this outflow boundary is now moving through Mansfield, Lillian, down to Keene there, the other side of Cleburne, moving towards Rio Vista there. So I do think that the storm is beginning to catch up now to the outflow boundary. And if that does actually happen, I do think that we will start to increase the threat along the leading edge of this storm. So let's zoom this out a little bit, just again, to kind of give you a view of what's going on. And something else I want to bring your attention to is we have this growing. Let's put this back into motion here. We have some development from Corsicana up through Gun Barrel City, up to the other side of Terrell, and right up to, what is that, I-30 there. I believe that's I-30. And so this development here, as this gets closer, I think that might actually become more development ahead of all of this. We'll have to keep an eye on that. In my estimation, it looks like this may not necessarily be a Tarrant County, or rather a Navarro County threat, because I think it may end up going east of there, but that may be worth watching, because as this line, which continues to barrel its way east and moving into Dallas County now, as this continues to move off to the east, I do think that we could see more development here. And again, when you get east of Cleburne, east of Stephenville there, that's where you start getting into that moderate risk. That's where you get into more volatile conditions. This line is liable to only increase in power as it goes. Time will tell. Again, tonight may be one of those things where it doesn't meet expectations. I would love that. I would love for this event to not meet expectations the way that the event in Oklahoma City did. I've seen meteorologists and different people on Twitter today saying, hey, I'd love to eat crow tomorrow morning if this ends up not being the biggest deal. The only problem with that is that then you get people who don't believe any of the weather stuff that we put out. So I would love for this to be a flop and for there not to be the kind of destruction that we think may be possible. But just keep in mind, we're very early in this event, so this needs to be taken every bit as seriously as we have promoted it to be already. So we'll zoom back in here. Let's put this into pause. I get myself oriented. Here we go. Okay, I want to show both of these counties. So moving through Johnson County now, from Burleson to Joshua, moving into Cleburne, and now moving into Bosque County here, but yes, moving towards the Blum area there in Hill County. So again, this is kind of tilted this way. The county boundaries are kind of tilted the other way. So it'll kind of, as it moves through, it'll kind of move in from northeast to southwest, really the way it'll affect the county. First Blum, then eventually Itasca, Hillsborough, and Whitney, and then on towards Hubbard, Dawson, and way down there in the west area as well. So it will continue to move east, and this part of the storm does look at this point to be the most intense. Let me take another look at the velocity view here. And it's going right over the radar now, so it's kind of hard to tell exactly what we're looking at, because again, when it moves over that radar, it can't look straight up. So we're not really going to see a whole lot in the Burleson area, unfortunately, but we'll do our best. And let me get an idea of how fast this storm is moving. We said 40 miles per hour, correct? So around 40 miles per hour. Let's put a storm track on this. Kind of get an idea of what we're looking at in terms of the rest of Johnson County and Ellis County. Get some timing up here. So it's moving into the Cleburne area now. Keene in about 14 minutes. Alvarado about 23 minutes. About half an hour in Venus. Sometimes I shave a little off the time, round down a little bit on these times. About 40 minutes towards Mountain Peak. About 43 minutes in Midlothian. Boz in about 48 minutes. That's Boz, the 5 Points area in Ellis County. And we're looking at Forreston in about 55 minutes. About 55 minutes in Waxahachie. And Abilene in about an hour or so. Again, Rocket in about an hour. And Bardwell in the Ennis area, a little bit over an hour. So about an hour and 10 minutes. So that's kind of the timing we're looking at. So really, over about the next hour, we will see this at least reach for the 45 corridor. So probably by about 7:30, it will be moving into the I-45 corridor towards Ennis and Bardwell, that area. Ferris, probably a little under that. So just keep in mind, if you're waiting for this, if you're sitting there, twiddling your thumbs going, when in the world is this going to get here? That's probably when we're looking at that reaching that area. Let me move this over a little bit. I would say Hillsborough probably in the next half hour. As we go further out, Dawson probably in about an hour or so. Corsicana probably closer to an hour and a half or so. And then on from there. Curran's over in the far eastern portions of Navarro County, probably closer to about an hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours or so. So that's just kind of a rough estimation of the timing. Sometimes these lines, they speed up, they slow down, different things happen, so don't take that as gospel right now. We'll check in on that timing every so often, but that's kind of where we see the timing working out right now. If you're in the Blum area, you're just getting to get this outflow boundary, and that will bring some stronger winds. So if nothing else, you get a little bit of a warning before the storm actually gets there. But this storm is moving into the Burleson area, so it's affecting 35 West right now in Burleson, moving into Joshua, moving into Cleburne, and it continues to move off to the east. So next will be the Keene area, Sand Flat, Rio Vista there, and it will just continue to move on to the east, moving towards Rendon, moving towards Mansfield. I know part of Mansfield is in Johnson County, Lillian as well, and that outflow boundary, again, looks like we might be, this convection, the storm itself may be catching up to that outflow boundary, and I think by the time it moves into Ellis County, it could very well do that. And at that point, we do need to start watching for those brief spin-up tornadoes as we go forward. Just going to get a broader view here. And I am watching the chat session here. I am trying to see if there are questions I can answer. And again, if you're asking for specific towns, specific places, I may not always be able to give you a specific timeline, I mean, we just went through that. Okay. So we've got some people asking for advice in specific areas. One thing that was just mentioned was apartment buildings, and that's a common question. Get to the lowest floor you can. If you've got a friend or a neighbor, someone you know on the first floor, or if even the office is open, sometimes in those offices you'll have a certain kind of a community room or something. Really, you want to be on the lowest floor, because the higher up you are, the farther away from the surface you are, the stronger the winds are going to be. There's less to break the wind there. Now, if you're lucky enough, you have a whole other building, to the west of you, you may not really need to do a whole lot. But again, it's best to be on a lower floor of those buildings, because you have the lowest chance to actually see damaging conditions in those areas. Okay, so nothing new from the National Weather Service in these areas yet, but I'm going to continue to monitor that. No tacos, please. Well, funny enough, I had tacos for lunch, and no, the irony was not lost on me. If you don't know, if you've seen the guy pointing at the taco meme, yours truly, right here. That's me. I'm famous for something that barely took me any time at all. Of course, it didn't have the brand on it or anything like that, but hey, that's me, so at least I know the difference between a watch and a warning. Now, if sometime in the stream tonight I say the word watch when I meant warning, I say warning when I meant watch, I hear the great Pete Delkus even made that mistake, so surely I can be excused as well. I am definitely no Pete Delkus. What you'll see tonight is straight science, straightforward stuff. I'm not going to put my face on a billboard, but hey, this is just straightforward weather on these streams, and that's all you need to know. And my wife just put dinner on my desk, and I've got a cat that's sleeping, so I may be fighting the cat from getting the dinner, and also fighting the temptation to sit here and eat food while you're watching these storms coming in. I work from home, just for all the people that are new. I do this at home, and so there's home stuff going on. Hopefully the baby isn't screaming too much in the stream, but hey, it happened, right? So I know that there's a lot of people who may be new since we have done the rebrand, and what timing, right? So hopefully we'll get to know each other a little bit as well. I understand that Cedar Hill, DeSoto, Duncanville, and Lancaster are sounding the outdoor warning sirens for wind. So that is, if you're not familiar, that is just north of the Ellis County line here. And so if you're in Midlothian, Red Oak, Ferris, those areas, there are outdoor warnings going on for those winds. These 70-mile-per-hour winds they're not to be played with, okay? They're to be taken seriously. So if you're in the Blum area that's moving towards you right now, there is no severe thunderstorm warning for Hill County yet. It is moving towards the Blum area. Janice, I appreciate the message. I'm not eating on the stream, because I would never forgive myself. I'd go back and watch this and just be embarrassed out of my mind. Not going to do it, but I appreciate the flexibility there. I'll eat after this is all done. We'll all breathe a sigh of relief together. But as this moves in, these 70-mile-per-hour winds are not to be treated as not very serious. Now, okay. So a tornado warning going out for Dallas County. And I know I'm not covering Dallas County, but that is notable. I saw Hill, so I wanted to make sure Hill County wasn't getting a warning of some sort. But there is a tornado warning going out for Dallas County for the Cockrell Hill area. Okay. Because of the proximity, I have to check those things. But what's interesting about that is, again, this part of the storm does appear to be capable of producing tornadoes. So as this storm continues, and there we go, okay, that's really interesting. And Matt, you're probably seeing this too. That is moving southeast. And most of this is moving due east, if not a little bit northeast. So, and I apologize if I pause a little bit. Every now and then I got to think through this stuff, right? So we're looking at this, and this is a southeast moving tornado warning in Dallas County. So we will need to watch for this in the Ferris area and over towards Bristol there. So I will definitely be keeping an eye on that going forward. We will definitely be watching this as we go forward. So that tornado warning, not including any part of Ellis County yet, but I will be watching that over the next several minutes, because that could very well affect our area here. So, and again, it's interesting to me that it's moving southeast, that it's a southeastward tilted storm there. So, and I'm being asked about Gun Barrel City. That's a little farther away from where I'm at. I will tell you that, hey, Gun Barrel is a little bit further away from where this is happening. Gun Barrel City is probably going to get this in about 2 hours, maybe a little more. That's the best I can tell you right now. There's really nothing going on there. There does appear to, again, be some convection out that way, but this is not anywhere near what is going through the western portions of the area right now. So that will be the focus. Somebody watching in Grand Prairie. Okay, so a new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for Ellis and Hill counties. So we will see that warning expanded to Hill and Ellis counties. I don't have the shape on that yet. We will see what, and that is until 7:30. So that will go for about, and the Mavericks are playing right now, of course. My phone is probably going to be reminding me consistently of that. I just saw a message about something about power out. Okay, that's something else. All right, so here is the new. Give me that one more time, Matt. Okay, yeah. So the warning goes from about Hillsboro up to Itasca, and then all of Ellis County here. So it's this line. Again, this is the line we're watching. There's really not anything else going on. There is a little bit of rain developing in from about Corsicana up to Kearns, up towards Kemp and Gun Barrel City right now, but that doesn't look to be anything severe at this point. We will have to keep an eye on that. That is in unstable air, so that will be worth watching. But for the moment, the only thing we have is this straight line. So we will keep our focus here. And you can see from Meridian to Blum, up towards Venus and Alvarado right now, up to getting close in Midlothian. This is where this line is. And they're issuing pretty consistent downstream warnings. That's what you call it when it's ahead of the storm. So these are downstream warnings. So we're going to continue to probably see them issue these warnings going forward. Adam, you're asking about the tornado warning in Dallas County. That's kind of outside what we do here. And frankly, hey, there's 4 TV stations that cover Dallas County wall to wall. But what's interesting about the Dallas County warning for our area is that it does seem to be heading towards the Ferris area in terms of the direction, kind of the tilt of the warning in Dallas County. So that's very interesting, and I'll be looking forward to see what the National Weather Service has to say on that. The whole area is part of a tornado watch that goes until 10 p.m. Again, if you've seen my very famous now taco meme, the taco warning or the tornado warning is when there is either a tornado happening now or a storm is specifically showing attributes where that is possible. If it's a watch, means you need to watch the weather. You need to watch conditions, right? So that means that there's not one happening now, but could very well. And as I mentioned, as the storms continue to catch up to this outflow boundary and then overtake it, then there will be more of an opportunity, most likely, to cause some spin-ups along that line. And okay, yeah, so you're getting the, and that's a good point. A couple of things. There's a lot going on right now, including WFAA doing something weird, which is not all out of the, I'll finish the sentence, not out of the norm. I try not to address other media sources here, and Matt, stay muted while you're laughing. But I just want to point out a couple of things. Ellis County Emergency Management System just called from Diane Simzak. Thank you for letting me know, and thank you for the reminder to talk about each of the emergency management offices in our area has a link where you can go and sign up for emergency notifications. They'll call you, email you, text message you, one of the three or all three at the same time when a warning is issued. So if you want it just for thunderstorm warnings or for tornado warnings as well, whatever the case is, you can customize those. And when your part of the county is warned, they will give you a call. So Matt, if you could go to southmetroweather.com, which is where I had those links posted. The only one we couldn't find is Johnson County. So if you have the link for Johnson County to sign up for those, that would be wonderful, so that the Johnson County folks can get signed up for those. Now, Jeanette, you're saying that WFAA is showing rotation towards us in Red Oak. I'm not sure what they're referring to there, because I don't see any indications of rotation on the velocity radar that I'm looking at. I'm not sure what they're referring to there. I'm not sure what they're seeing. But I don't have that. Sirens going off in Ferris. Let me go down. Sirens in Ovilla. I've seen a couple of people say that. So they're all going to be sounding sirens for these 70-mile-per-hour winds that could occur along this line. I'm just going through the chat session here. Okay. Wind gusts in the warning dropped to 60 miles per hour. So I guess in the Ellis County warning, they're now warning for 60 mile per hour winds. Let me go look back at the warning on my other screen here. Haven't had a chance to look at that. Yes, so for Ellis County, 60 mile per hour winds, and that's radar indicated. So that's not confirmed by a person. That's an estimation based on radar that we may have lost some wind speed, which is not a bad thing for sure. But winds may be a little bit less. Now, again, the concern I have is that this storm is catching up to this outflow boundary now. And once it does that, that's where we could have more of a concern for the rotation in this line. So I'm rooting for that outflow boundary to keep up the pace and keep it going, because if it does, that will, again, mitigate that tornado risk. But unfortunately, it won't do a whole lot for the winds. 60, 70 mile an hour wind gusts are still possible along the leading edge of this line. So let me just keep going with this here. And as I said earlier in the stream, I know there's some new folks in here. As I said earlier in the stream tonight, the outdoor sirens, two things to remember there. Number one, they're not supposed to be used if you're inside your home. Those are outdoor warning sirens for a reason. They are used when you're outdoors. Number two, they're used not always for tornadoes, especially now. That has changed over the last 10, 15, 20 years. They are now used for extreme wind situations, dangerous hail situations, basically anything that could be harmful to you outdoors, which again is what they're used for. Then they will sound those sirens. So often they are used for severe weather events and severe thunderstorm conditions, because if there's an outdoor event, especially if it's a major outdoor event, some outdoor event like, you have the Bob Phillips, the Texas Country Reporter Festival in Waxahachie, the trade days over in Canton, or in Ennis, you have the Polka Festival. These different events across our area. I believe that Cleburne has an event every year, kind of a heritage event every year. Those kind of things are what these are used for. When you're outdoors, big event, those folks need to know to get indoors. That's what they're used for, and not always for tornadoes. So just when you hear the sirens, don't immediately think tornado. Just think, get inside, check the weather, see what is going on. I'm going to keep going through this chat session here. So Glen Heights, the Glen Heights is going to be right on that county line. You are just south of that tornado warning, but you should be taking shelter now just in case, for whatever reason, you do have the threat of that tornado, that possible tornado there in that area. And regarding that warning, since that warning is so close to Ellis County, we'll go ahead and have a quick discussion about that. For the tornado warning in Dallas, a severe squall line capable of producing both tornadoes and extensive straight line wind damage was located near Hutchins, moving southeast at 55 miles per hour. So moving pretty quickly, and again, it is moving that way. Now, again, these are tornado force winds for the most part. I mean, 70 miles an hour is a low end, weak tornado. You get above that, you're starting to get into F0, F1 territory. So just understand that, you take all that wind, put it in one direction, one force, that's something serious. So that could be some of the reasoning for the warning there, but there's no outflow boundary that I can see. So that could very well be looking at an area of rotation as well that could be an issue. The winds are moving into Midlothian now, Midlothian Venus, moving through Rio Vista here. We're looking at, let me get my mouse back here, Grandview, just getting that. Just moved through Covington, moving towards Itasca now, moving into Griffith, going to be moving into the Auburn community here. If you don't know where Auburn is, it's just north and west of Maypearl. This is the Maypearl area here, though. And again, that outflow boundary, very close to the storm. It was a little ways out, but it is now much closer to the storm. We'll soon be enveloped by it. And that severe thunderstorm warning that we are seeing is well served at this point, because you've got those 60 to 70 mile per hour winds that will be moving into those areas and moving right along. So I'm going to keep going in. I'm going to keep going here in the comments here, just so I can just kind of keep up, because there are times where these comments will actually some kind of I don't know, there's some kind of a spam something there, but sometimes these comments can allow me to find out what's going on. And if you send in a report, if you want to say, hey, the weather is doing XYZ in my community, make sure that you put your location in those comments. You want to make sure that the location is there, because if you don't have that location listed, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what the significance of it is. Man, a lot of chat tonight. You guys are active. That is great. For the people who are just tuning in, I'm sure with these warnings going out, you're just now tuning in. Make sure that you share this stream. Share the stream, tag people, whatever you have to do to make sure that people are watching this. Make sure that they're aware. Hey, there are some people who are just, very unaware of what's going on. Some people that are just completely tuned out. Make sure that you're tagging people so that they are watching this stream, so that they are clued in, because if they're not aware of what's going on and they get blindsided by these 60 to 70 mile per hour winds, that could be a dangerous situation. So you want to make sure that you share this and tag people, all that kind of thing, to make sure that those people are tuned in. And if there's anyone that somehow you have missed the rebrand, yes, this says South Metro Weather over here in the corner. This is the South Metro Weather Company now that transitioned from Ellis County Weather. This is showing covering Ellis, Navarro, Johnson, and Hill counties. So we're covering 4 counties tonight, and so far I think it's going relatively well. And just to show that whole area, we'll just kind of give a broader view of a couple of things that are going on. This is the line that we're watching move through right now. And we'll go and put this into motion. There is another tornado warning south of Gatesville, and we'll be watching that to possibly move into the Waco area in the next several minutes. Could move into Navarro County later on. We'll have to wait and see if it lasts that long. There is a tornado warning for southeastern Dallas County that could affect parts of Ellis County if it keeps going. We will, of course, keep an eye on that. But the line continues to move off to the east, and ahead of it, over in the Currens area right now, is more development off to the east. None of this is severe at this time. This is a relatively calm and light cluster of showers that has developed. Doesn't look like this is really going to do a whole lot, but that continues to move off to the east. The much more dangerous and bigger focus of this system, of course, is this line. Again, we've been lucky enough that we have not had to deal with any storms ahead of the line. That was part of my concern, because if you have any storms develop out ahead of the line, it's usually an individual storm. That storm doesn't have to compete with a cluster of storms or a line like this for that inflow, going to allow for longer living, stronger tornadoes, larger hail, and some of those microburst and downburst winds. So we've been lucky that we haven't had to deal with those at this point. But we do still have this line that is across our area. And Gidget Green, I think, is the name. There was a tornado farther ahead, but we've not had them in our particular area. So that's the good news, that we in the South Metro area have not had to deal with that yet. And yeah, so sirens in DeSoto, I'm hearing that there's definitely sirens pretty much all over the area. I'm not hearing the one that was just installed near me. Again, I'm inside. I'm not supposed to depend on that, but I imagine I'll probably hear it through the window right here over time. So we'll watch and see how many of these communities do sound those sirens. Again, if they do sound, doesn't necessarily mean there's a tornado, or if they don't sound, they may be waiting for a tornado to actually be warned about. Okay, circulation in southeast Dallas is tightening up. I'm just following the National Weather Service here. So that may become an issue for far northeastern Ellis County over time. Let's go ahead and zoom into that area. So this is the storm that was warned in Dallas County. This, it looks like it's somewhere in this area here. So as that continues to move off to the southeast, the Ferris area, I would be taking cover right now if you are in Ferris, because they are saying that the rotation in that area is tightening up. It's a little harder to see. They may be using a different radar source for that. But it does necessitate taking cover in the Ferris area. So if you are in Ferris, I want to zoom in a little bit. If you're in Ferris, Wilmer, Lancaster, you want to be taking shelter right now, because the rotation is tightening up, becoming more of a concern going forward for those areas. And it is moving pretty quickly. And here you can see it just south of Dallas here on the southeast side of Dallas. You can see this kind of little bit of a notch here. And I'm not sure if exactly that's what they're pointing at, but that could be. And right now it does look like it'll go north of Ferris. But if you're in the Ferris area, you do still want to be taking shelter, because this is moving to the southeast. You never know if it's going to take a little bit of a further south dip. Could very well affect the Ferris area. So if you are in Ferris, you do want to be taking cover right now. Okay, that circulation is just west of Balch Springs. So Balch Springs is here. So they're saying it's just west of there. So I'm willing to bet it's in this area. So as that continues to move off to the southeast, could get closer to the Ferris area. So Ferris, you should be taking shelter right now. We'll kind of zoom this out just a little bit here. And as we take another broad look, I know we've got new people joining the stream all the time. The first thing I want to mention, yes, we do have that tornado watch that is effective until 10 p.m. We have these warnings. The warning for Johnson County expires at 7:15, so about another half hour here. And that may be canceled early. Some of these warnings are getting canceled a little bit early just because the line is moving pretty quickly. Okay, I had a big refresh on these watches and warnings, so I'm checking that. And then for the Ellis County area, that warning for Ellis County and really the northern half of Hill County until 7:30, so about another 45 minutes or so for that. This line now moving towards the Whitney area, so let's get closer to there. I know Lake Whitney is going to be watching, Huron, Covington up there, so this line is now moving into your area. We'll be moving towards Woodbury very soon, Itasca as well, further on to Hillsboro and Mountain View, a little later than that into Abbott. So the storm is moving into Hill County now, so in the Hill County area, you do want to be watching this very closely. In western Ellis County, the main line of this storm now moving into Midlothian and Ward, going to be moving towards Mountain Peak as well, moving into Griffith. Oak Leaf, the Red Oak area, you're just now getting the leading edge of this outflow boundary, which again, this whole thing is starting to move to the east and overtake this outflow boundary. Midway Airport right now, right around the outflow boundary there, so this will continue to move on to the east. And yes, above my head, you're looking at that. That is a tornado warning for parts of Dallas County. That has not been issued for any part of Ellis County yet, but we will be monitoring that as we go through the evening. As we go forward here, I just want to kind of take stock of where we're at. There's a lot of different information coming in, so I want to make sure that we pay attention to that too. Matt, are you seeing anything else about that tornado warning in southeast Dallas? Has there been any kind of confirmation there? Okay. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting. Okay, Hannah, there is not a tornado warning in Ennis. Just to correct you there, not sure what your information is, but there is a tornado watch. Definitely not a warning. So I just want to clarify that. That there's no tornado warning for Ennis. I just saw that come across in the comment section there. No tornado warnings for the 4-county area right now. Just severe thunderstorm warnings at this time. New severe thunderstorm warning issued for Kaufman County off to the east for the line that continues to move off there. But the tornado warning, the fact that it is moving southeast as the rest of the line moves east, there are times where you can see a right turn in some of these storms. Now, you normally see that in a supercell, not necessarily in the line here. So it's definitely very interesting that we're seeing that trend. So we'll have to kind of keep an eye on that. As we go wider here, just kind of get a wide view, this line goes pretty much from Red River to the Rio Grande, all the way down south. And this line, it's been what we've been waiting for, and we're almost to 7 o'clock now, and it is moving through right around on schedule, maybe a little bit earlier. These lines, they speed up, they slow down, different things happen. That's why it can be so hard sometimes to tell you an exact time to what to expect there. But this is the whole line, and you see all these more of these downstream warnings. Just watching the. And you're asking for a temperature with these storms. I don't have a temperature right now along the line. Not really a matter of consequence at the moment. So we'll keep focused on the factors that matter here, and I'm sure we'll be able to see later what those temperatures are. But this snaky little line here, that's the outflow boundary. This line continues to catch up to that. And once it does, as I've stated before, we will have more of a tornado risk for this area. So as it gets into Ellis County, eastern parts of Hill County, into Navarro County, the tornado risk will probably increase at least a bit along this line. We have plenty of inflow and plenty of warm, moist, unstable air for all this to move into. And you got a lot of outflow, you got the inflow, that starts to rotate. And I'm checking a few sources here. And I'm getting a screenshot here of somebody saying that the tornado warning reaches Ellis County. I mean, you can see the polygon right there. That's the Ellis County line. It's not moving south of there. So the warning does not go into Ellis County at this time. It is only Dallas County. We'll zoom into that a little bit for the benefit of those who are watching that. So this is the part of the storm they're watching, and that continues to move off to the southeast here towards the Wilmer area and potentially towards Ferris. If you're in Ferris, you need to be taking shelter now. But as it continues to move off to the southeast, you want to make sure that you're taking shelter, but nothing's been confirmed on the ground here. But the warning does not include Ellis County. It's very clear where the polygon is here. So, that's the situation. It's moving into far southeastern Dallas County now. but no, nothing has been reported at this time. Okay, and I'm getting a report. I want to share this report in Rio Vista, a report of a down power line on County Road 310. So County Road 310 in Rio Vista has a down power line that can be very dangerous. So make sure that you are cautious of that if you are in that area. Just something I wanted to share with you that could be beneficial to those who are hopefully not out on the roads right now. But if you are, County Road 310 definitely needs to be paying attention to the roads there, as there does appear to be a report of a down power line. The current plan from the National Weather Service is to let that Dallas tornado warning expire in 10 minutes. The circulation has weakened, so does not look like that will be extended into Ellis County. So I think at this point it's going to be mostly just southeastern Dallas County. They'll let the tornado warning end there. But again, as we move into central and eastern Ellis County, as this line begins to overtake this outflow boundary, we do still see the potential for that to spread, if you will, further into, or for the tornado warning to increase. I'm going to check, try to check a couple of things here. And again, I have multiple sources of information going all the time. So if I look down or I look over to the side, don't get offended, don't be upset, because I'm merely just trying to make sure that we're all keeping up. And there are warnings that will go up on the page as well. Just short warning. And earlier it did not work properly. It only warned, or only showed the tornado watch for Ellis County. And I'm not sure why. I will be trying to look into that. But I know for the moment that we are looking at these warnings. They do appear to be sharing effectively for all 4 counties. So that at least is a good sign. So as we go forward, we have a new image here from the radar now. And this is a pretty kind of messy line. And that's, again, good and bad. Sometimes when you see the real smooth line, that's when you get your strongest winds. But that when you have the messy line here, you have all these notches. Those are all potentials for tornadic activity. And I'm looking at the velocity view next to me here. I don't see anything that has me immediately concerned. And really, again, the big difference maker is the outflow boundary. So as this continues to get enveloped, and what was that? I'm going back in messages here. Somebody said, sorry for calling you weather boy in school. Don't be sorry for it. Hey, it got me here and in a great position. So no apology needed for that. Power out in Maypearl. So we're starting to see power outages with this as well. I believe we have a contact with Encore who can probably provide some information there. I know their website usually has a list of how many in each area are without power. So if you do lose power, just follow those procedures that you normally would. Call them and be one of, I'm sure, hundreds of people that are calling them right now. But just a report that I saw of power outages there in Maypearl. Okay, I'm just watching some reports. So we just had a warning that was issued for southern sections of Hill County now. So we have the warning that covers northern parts of Hill County. We just had another warning issued for southern Hill County. This warning goes until 8 p.m. So about an hour there. And it looks like these warnings are about an hour or so as far as when they're issued. So this is for Bosque and, yes, Hill County. And this is for this line that's now moving into the Whitney area, moving into Hillsborough, moving into Itasca as well. So now all of Hill County is warned. The only area that's not warned yet is Navarro County, and Navarro County will be getting some of this very shortly. The Blooming Grove area will be getting the storms soon. And again, I'm hearing more sirens going off in the Ferris area. Again, you're a little closer to this tornado warning. They are allowing that to expire. that's the good news there. They will allow that warning to expire, but as we go forward, again, 60, 70, 80 mile an hour winds are possible with this line. It doesn't look like we are going to get what Weatherford had earlier, downtown Fort Worth may have had earlier, where they were getting 80 mile an hour winds, power flashes, all of that fun stuff. Doesn't look like we have that situation unfolding here, but it's still enough that we need to keep that in consideration for sure. Again, I'm watching the chat here just to make sure I'm informed of what the National Weather Service is seeing. And okay, just keeping up there. And yeah, just hearing lots of wind out there. And that's really going to be the main concern. I'm following the chat here. Lots of wind across the area. And that's going to be the prime issue here. We don't have any tornado issues in Ellis County right now. I'm not hearing any reports of hail either. So really the wind is the main feature. That's what is going to get everyone's attention. That outflow boundary now moving into Waxahachie there, moving into Ferris. Going to be moving into the 5 Points area here. Going to be moving towards Forreston very, very soon. So as we continue to see that move in, the winds pick up and then the heavy rain starts. And that will be the biggest issue here. And again, you're asking me for temperatures, you're asking me for wind speeds. I don't have a lot of current information. I know what's estimated for these storms. And again, we could be looking at 60 to 70 mile per hour winds at in these storms. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. So I don't have exact wind speeds or exact temperatures right now. Of course, the other thing is the exact temperature really depends on where you are. If you're in the rain-cooled area, it's probably going to be cooler. If you're ahead of that, it's going to be warmer. So I don't have a lot of exact information for you. I don't have a network of weather stations or anything like that to report off of. But I can tell you that where these storms are going, 60 to 70 mile per hour winds will definitely be possible. There's the latest imagery, and again, this outflow boundary that is getting caught up by these storms, the winds are now moving into the Italy area, going to be moving into the Palmer area very soon, towards Milford there as well. So just keep that in mind, and these winds will be very quickly followed by the heavy rain that is coming from this system. I want to reiterate, I have not heard any reports yet from Johnson County or Ellis County or Hill County for that matter of any of the any hail reports. No hail reports yet from any of these storms, and you don't really have too big a hail threat with these straight lines. Sometimes you do these squall lines. Sometimes you get a bit of a hail threat, but for the most part, we're just looking at the strong winds that will be the main concern with this line. You guys are continuing to send in your reports. I appreciate that. And lots of new people jumping into the stream here from what I can tell. And so do me a favor, and if you're jumping into the stream, make sure you share the stream as well. Get this to other folks that may be in your neighborhood or in your areas, especially if they're further downstream, if they're to the east of here. Make sure they know about the stream as well so they know what's coming towards the area. It's mostly quiet in Navarro County right now. Nothing's really moved in there yet. It's Ellis, Johnson, and Hill counties getting most of it at this point, but it will be heading towards that area. Zoom out just a little bit, give you a wider view of what's going on. If you're west of Cleburne now, if you're in Burleson and the Crescent area here, hey, it's pretty much cleared your area. Behind this line, looks like we have some showers and possibly a thunderstorm or two behind the line there. Hey, once the line moves through, you're done for the night. There's some talk about on the back end of this system, some showers possibly moving through. I understand some of the weather apps and these kind of things, those are not really that reliable, but some of those are pointing towards severe weather later tonight. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think once this line moves through, we should be done with the severe weather. We're going to get down to the mid-40s overnight tonight. So tomorrow morning, it's going to be a little bit chilly around our area, but tomorrow will be sunny. So that will be quite nice. But we have to deal with the line first, and I'm hearing that it's very calm in Hillsborough. So either the winds have not started in your area, or maybe you're somewhere between the outflow boundary and the front of that storm. I would doubt it. Okay, getting a report of hail in Midlothian. So that could be probably small hail in that area. I wouldn't imagine that we would be looking at anything really too intense there. And tornado warnings to our southwest, but not in our area. So I was just checking there. I'm hearing that the rain is beginning in Waxahachie as well. So from Red Oak to Waxahachie, Maypearl, down to Itasca, Hillsboro, Whitney, those areas just starting to get the main part of this line. Strong winds, very heavy rain, frequent lightning are probably going to be the main things that you'll see there. No reports of damage in these areas yet, though. We did hear the report on County Road 310 near Rio Vista there in southern Johnson County that there was the report of power lines down in that area. So that is something to keep in mind for sure if you're out and about. Hopefully you're not out driving in this really, but we did get that report, so that does bear paying attention. Just again, going back in the chat here to see. Okay, so no hail in the Mountain Peak area, okay. Winds picking up in the Ferris area. Okay, winds picking up in Italy as well. Okay, and so yeah, definitely winds picking up along the leading edge of this thing. So again, from Ferris to Waxahachie down to Italy, and that is the area where those winds will be picking up pretty quickly in that area. So if you are new to the stream, right now we are looking at a line of severe thunderstorms moving through. The damaging wind are the main threat here. Winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour are possible there. There's a latest stream there, or the latest radar update, rather. We are under a tornado watch until 10 p.m., and we have a host of severe thunderstorm warnings here. The warning in Johnson County, let's take a look at that. That will be expiring pretty soon, 7:15, so about another 10 minutes there. There's a warning in Ellis and Northern Hill counties that goes until 7:30, and then a warning in Southern Hill County, all severe thunderstorm warnings until 8. So that's what we're looking at. So 7:15, the warning in Johnson County will expire. 7:30, the warning in Ellis and Northern Hill counties will expire. That may need to be extended depending on where that line is at that time. And then Southern Hill County until 8 o'clock for that severe thunderstorm warning there. And again, behind the line, things are calming down. In Burleson, Joshua, over towards Crescent there, over in western Johnson County, things are calming down there. Cleburne, things will be calming down very soon there as well. You'll see some showers and possibly a thunderstorm or two behind the main line, but not severe. Once you get past the main line, things calm down considerably. Really just mostly rain at that point once you get through all of that. And again, I'm just trying to make sure that okay, and hearing that Midlothian is calming down as well. It will be, if it's not now, it will be soon. Midlothian, you will be calming down very soon. The heaviest of this does continue to move off to the east. I want to go county by county here. So let's go into Hill County now. So I'll get that one more zoom in here. So from Tyson up to Hillsboro, up to the Mountain View area, Carl's Corner, just now getting the leading edge of very heavy rain, strong winds there, and it will continue to move off to the east. Itasca and Covington. I'm sorry, Matt, what was that? Okay, I heard something. Okay, had a weird, not sure what that was, some kind of an interference or something. But Whitney and Woodbury, Huron, Covington, Itasca getting the strongest part of the storm now. That will continue to move off to the east. But again, Blum, Rio Vista, you're behind that main line. Things will start to calm down a little bit. As we get into Johnson County here, Grandview still getting hit pretty hard with the heaviest part of the storm. Venus, you're kind of on the back end. Keene and Cleburne will be calming down very shortly. From Lone Willow to Godley, Joshua, Crescent, and Burleson, behind that main line, things are finally starting to calm down a little bit there. So that will help things calm down a little bit as you go forward. Hearing that there's a report of from the emergency manager in Hillsborough, high winds in Hillsborough at this time, reports of transformers arcing. So it could be some transformer issues, maybe power flashes in Hillsborough at this point. So if you're losing power in the Hillsborough area, that could be to blame for that. Here in Ellis County, you are seeing in Maypearl the wind and rain picking up here. Waxahachie as well as Red Oak, Pecan Hill, that area. Moving into Ferris very shortly. So this is where you're seeing the leading edge of this. Back in Midlothian, you're on the back end of the heaviest part of this storm. So as this continues to move off to the east, things will start to calm down in Midlothian very soon, which I'm sure will be a relief. And this is a pretty quick moving line. We're talking 40 to 50 miles per hour in terms of how fast it's actually moving to the east. So it's moving at a decent clip, so it won't be there long, and that's why we're not really looking at too much of a flood risk across the area. Haven't really even used that word at this point. Flooding, you could see some flooding problems if you are, if your backyard is prone to that or something of that nature, but not any kind of widespread flooding from any of this activity, at least not from what we're expecting. Now, if you continue to get rain behind the line and it really persists for you and you've gotten a lot of rain, a high rate of rain within one of these storms, you could see an isolated flood issue, but definitely not a major issue tonight. So we just had an update here, and again, the heaviest part of this now moving through Maypearl, the Sardis area there, Oakleaf. So that is the kind of the heaviest part in Ellis County. Johnson County, it's beginning to clear out now. Just in the Grandview area here, Grandview, maybe parts of Alvarado, as this continues to move off to the east, things will be calming down quite a bit very quickly. In Johnson County, moving down to Hill County here, from Grandview down to Carl's Corner, including the Itasca area, pretty heavy rain included in all of that. As we get over to the Whitney area here, continuing to rain heavy there, going right into Bosque County, some pretty heavy rain in that area. Just moving into Hillsborough, it seems like it's not been moving into Hillsborough very quickly, but it is moving in now. So Hillsborough has kind of been holding off just a little bit, but it does appear to be moving in there now. The next in line is Mertens, and then we start getting into Navarro County, looking at Blooming Grove, that area. So we'll continue to watch this move towards that area as we get to Frost as well. So Mertens, Frost, Blooming Grove in Navarro County. Navarro County is not warned yet, but I imagine that warning is probably coming pretty soon as we continue to go forward. And more tornado warnings coming out to our south. Again, you can kind of see that in the clean area. So tornado warnings there, definitely not for our particular area. Fortunately, we've not had a tornado risk so much in our area. We did have the one in southeastern Dallas County. That did not end up extending into Ellis County here. So mainly just the wind risk as we have gone forward. And I want to make sure to pay attention to the streams here, or to the chat rather. And just various reports, again, heavy rain, wind, pretty consistent with what we've been seeing here. And let me take a look at it. Again, not seeing any signs of rotation anywhere in our part of this line. So thus far, by and large, the severe thunderstorm warning is being allowed to expire, I should say, in Johnson County. So Johnson County will soon be cleared from that severe thunderstorm warning. But we have been fortunate. I haven't had any major reports of damage here from what we can see. I haven't seen the reports in the chat or in the National Weather Service communications here, so that is the good news. But we are, again, seeing this line catching up to this outflow boundary, and as I mentioned before, that could be when we start to see a higher tornado risk. The tornado risk, I'm a little more concerned about Navarro County at this point, because I think at that point, this line will have been allowed to kind of catch up to this outflow boundary a little more. It'll continue to move into more of this moderate risk area. So I think it's possible that could very well be what when we start to see more of that issue instead of just the damaging winds that we've been seeing so far. And I'm just following the chat here, and the chat is really rolling here. And if there's okay, so somebody asking, they were confused. They're confused about South Metro weather. South Metro weather is the next generation of weather coverage from me. Used to be Ellis County weather. Now it's South Metro weather. We're now including Navarro, Hill, and Johnson counties to the brand. So that's why we did the rebrand. I didn't want to keep it Ellis County weather. We were including other areas, so we went ahead and changed the name. Unfortunately, the search, the Ellis County, or rather the Facebook search system, you put in Ellis County weather, it's just going to act like it doesn't exist. It doesn't go find earlier posts or anything like that. It's just, it's really hard to find. And I hate that. I wish there was a way I could make that easier for you. But unfortunately, if you want to go ahead and change the name over, Facebook is just not making that easy on folks. So that's unfortunate, but that's just the reality of what we've been seeing today. And nothing new from the National Weather Service as far as our areas. And frankly, if they're not watching our area too closely, that just means, hey, there's nothing to be too concerned about for this area. And I know there's a lot of folks asking about what's going on in Navarro County, those areas. Right now, and I see Whitney, Red Oak, these areas are within this storm, so you're getting the storm now. No tornado threat right this second in Ellis County. So that's not really what we're watching at the moment, or not really what we're concerned about. Not really seeing that from the National Weather Service, not seeing that on the velocity radar that I have set up. So either way, I'm not really that concerned with tornadoes at this point, but we do still have the risk for 60 to 70 mile per hour winds as we go forward. And a comment here, you can also favorite the page so it stays on the top of your feed. You can, and that is definitely a good piece of advice. So we'll go county by county here, and Johnson County is pretty much clear at this point. So let's go ahead and cover Ellis County now, from Milford onto Illy, really along the I-35 corridor south of Waxahachie. It's just now moving through there. Currently raining pretty hard in the Maypearl areas to Waxahachie, up to the Red Oak area there. Just now moving into Ferris there, just now moving into Palmer, moving into Garrett and Ennis very shortly, Bardwell as well, Avalon. So this is where it stands now. We'll put this into motion so you can kind of see where it's moving in relation to your area. So it does continue to move off kind of to the southeast now, a little bit of a southeast motion with this line, but you can see that this here from Maypearl down to Mountain View and Milford is moving more easterly. So this is probably the heaviest part of the storm at this point. Really all that we're seeing as far as really heavy rain, probably some stronger winds in that part of the system as well. But not a whole lot, just a few mentions of the possibility of hail. Here's Hill County, so from Carl's Corner down to Hillsboro, down on to Tyson here, continuing to move through the area. So as we continue to move off to the east, we're probably going to continue to see severe thunderstorm warnings as winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour are possible throughout the area. And I know that there's some in southern Dallas County that are asking about their areas. It continues to move through, and the tornado risk for that area has passed. So no tornado warnings right now in this area. Any tornado warnings are farther down to the south, really southwest of Waco, the last I saw. But that's a little farther away from our particular area right now. And we'll continue to keep an eye on all of this. Severe thunderstorm warning now including Navarro County. So this is for 60 mile per hour winds, 3/4 inch hail. And again, we've not really heard much of hail, so really the biggest issue at this point is the wind. So we will soon see a severe thunderstorm warning issued for Navarro County. That will soon be populating here. Let me just take a look, and that will include all of Navarro County. So that will be part of McLennan County, or a part of was that Freestone County down here, Freestone, Limestone County, all of Navarro County, part of Henderson there. So we'll see that populate here shortly, but that will include everybody from Blooming Grove to Dawson, Corsicana, Rice, Currens into southern Corsicana as well. Okay, just watching the chat here. Just getting more details there. Let me move this over a little bit. Okay, so we will soon see the next severe thunderstorm warning pop up for the Corsicana area. That will be effective until 8:15. So this will be covering Navarro County and effective until, here we go. This is in effect until 8:15 tonight. So that will be in effect for about another hour. We've been looking at pretty much hour-long warnings all across the area here. So it will move into the Blooming Grove area first, and then just continue on west to east here going forward. And if we look at the line, there's a couple of things going on. So this part of the line does continue to move on to the southeast. And so that is moving into the Ennis area now, headed towards Rice and Alma next. And then straight due east over here into Navarro County from about Milford down to Hillsborough and down to Abbott and west there. So that's going to continue to move on due east. This is moving to the southeast, so definitely bearing down on Navarro County now. So just be prepared for winds of around 60 miles per hour. Could go up to 70 miles per hour in some parts of this storm. Again, the winds have been our main concern. We've not had any tornado warning issues issued for any of these three counties that it has moved through so far. And we also have not seen too many reports of hail. In fact, if we take a broader look at the line, we can actually look and see what, we don't really have in any part of this any kind of big hail concerns. There could be some smaller hail in northern parts of Hill County there, but not really seeing any kind of concern for the hail. We'll look at the velocity view. And the velocity, unfortunately, looks, it's the same there. It looks a little messy. So it's a little hard to tell what it is we're looking at. And, normally any of this green that's in the red would be concerning to me, but it's just a little messy here. So it's a little harder to see exactly what we're looking at. But the where you can see the red, that alone is enough evidence that we do have strong winds that are now moving into Navarro County, moving into the Ennis area, moving towards Blooming Grove, and towards Hubbard there, and Dawson as well in Navarro County. And I can put this into motion. You will see those winds very clearly moving on to the east. So that just shows the leading edge of those strong winds. Someone asking how are we looking tornado-wise in Ennis. No reports of tornadoes in the Ennis area. And once you get past the front part of that line, you're really not it shouldn't really be that concerned about tornadoes in that area. Just overall, I don't think we're going to have that kind of problem. We'll zoom out just a little bit. I'm sure there's folks in Navarro County that may be jumping in. And if you are watching this stream, do me a favor and make sure that you are sharing the stream. You're tagging people that you think may need to see this. Make sure that it's getting out there to people's timelines so they are kept weather aware as we go forward this evening. We are all under a tornado watch until 10 p.m. Now, the line has moved out of the Cleburne area, so if you're in Johnson County, things are pretty much covered for you. There's really nothing to really talk about. It's moving through Hill County now, moving through Ellis County. We'll be moving into Navarro County very soon. And I'm just now hearing my first thunder here in Waxahachie. I am northeast of Waxahachie, not far from 287 and 35 here. and I'm just now hearing my first thunder, so this may not necessarily be the loudest storm. National Weather Service saying that all present severe warnings now have winds of 70 miles per hour or less. Intensity of North Texas activity has diminished slightly, but is still severe in places, with winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour. That there are tornado threats down, southwest of Waco so far is where it's been limited. So we have definitely been very fortunate here so far. Of course, we were under that moderate risk that was issued earlier today. We've been fortunate so far that we have not had any kind of tornado threats in this area, and that things have been relatively underwhelming compared to what some of the expectations were. And something to think about is that these severe weather situations are almost always underwhelming or overwhelming. It seems like they don't that often go according to plan. So it could be worse than we were expecting, but I would rather it be less bad than I was expecting, because you look at what happened in Oklahoma just a few days ago, and I don't want any part of that, right? Some people get upset when there's not a tornado. Trust me, I don't mind that you don't have to have that tough conversation with your insurance company and deal with lost loved things and lost things, and unfortunately sometimes lost loved ones. So I'm going to count this as a win so far. But there is still time to go tonight, and as I've mentioned many times before this moment, when we watch this outflow boundary get enveloped by the line, that does increase your tornado risk. So we will have to watch this, and there are other times, going even further than that, when you will have a line like this that will cycle downward, and then sometimes it will, again, cycle back up. So there's a number of possibilities here that keep me from saying that we are out of the woods, that we're not done with this yet. If anything, there's a possibility that this line could become more organized, and that could cause a bigger wind issue. Earlier tonight in Fort Worth and Weatherford, that area, we were looking at winds of 80 miles per hour. That's something I really don't want to have any part of. 60 to 70 miles per hour is not nothing, but it's not as bad as some of what we saw to our northwest. So all in all, things are going relatively well now, but we are not out of the woods. There's a reason they're issuing all these downstream severe thunderstorm warnings, because these winds have been pretty impressive. The part of the segment that's moving into Navarro County now, it's starting to kind of smooth out a little bit in the front, and that usually means you're getting a stronger bit of wind. In fact, we could be looking at this segment of the storm beginning to bow out a little bit, and you see kind of this pushing back to the back, right? That is an indication that we could very well see a very quick and rapid increase in wind speeds along this section of the storm. So as we get into that part of the storm moving towards Blooming Grove and Rice and Corsicana, that area, Frost as well, definitely make sure that you are taking this seriously, because this could ramp up very quickly in your area. So definitely keep that in mind overall. I'm going to go back in the let's go back in the chat here. Make sure that we're paying attention, that I'm paying attention to that in case any reports have come in. Again, no reports of damage that I have seen. I did see a report from the National Weather Service earlier about a possible power line down on County Road 310 in Rio Vista, but not seeing any reports of damage in that chat, or any further reports of damage from the National Weather Service either. So it looks like thus far we have fared pretty well up to this point. Okay, and so new tornado warning coming out for Bell, McLennan, and Coryell area for possible spin-ups along that Boeing segment. So that is to our south, and we will have to keep an eye on that, because if that tries to move to the northeast, then that could very well affect the Navarro County area. So we will okay, just kind of listening here. We've got a window right next to me. Just kind of listening to that. But down in the Waco area, that is where there will be a tornado warning issued, warning of the possibility of some spin-ups along that Boeing segment. So we will kind of keep an eye on that. I don't see that polygon quite yet. I'm watching to see what that looks like. Okay, so this is still, this is still to the south of Waco, southwest of Waco. So that should move south of our particular area. So I'll kind of keep an eye on that in the periphery. But for right now, no tornado threat that is shown in our particular area. And okay, heavy rain and winds pretty much everywhere in this line. So again, fortunately, it looks like that's pretty much what we're limited to. Matt, are you seeing any reports of damage or anything in this area? Okay, so Matt is monitoring some things. Matt is monitoring some other sources of some information. The Ellis County warning that I believe is going to be, that is supposed to expire very shortly. The Ellis County warning will be reissued for the wind potential continuing. So still seeing a potential for winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour in the Ellis County section of this storm, particularly the section moving into the Ennis area right now. Again, that leading edge, that's where you have the strongest winds and sometimes within the storm as well. So if you are in Ellis County getting this storm, you could still see 60 to 70 mile per hour winds as we go forward in these storms. Again, not the 80 mile per hour winds that we were talking about in the Weatherford area and downtown Fort Worth earlier, but the new severe thunderstorm warning issued for Ellis and Hill counties so that we can continue to warn for that severe wind risk. Now, I will say that if you are in Midlothian or Maypearl there, this is starting to move out. So we're starting to get that clearing out of that area, so that will be less of a threat. I'm going to see if I can... Okay, so the new warning for Ellis County, it hasn't quite popped up here yet, but it's eastern Ellis County. So from about Ferris down to Italy there, and then over in really east of, including Hillsborough, so from Hillsborough on east. So there's pretty much this area from east to Hillsborough on up to really eastern Ellis County is where that warning will be. So if you're behind that, which means if you're in Maypearl, Waxahachie, Midlothian, Red Oak, those areas have kind of cleared out. Johnson County certainly has. Johnson County, you're getting kind of the back end of this. Rain will start to end from west to east there. If you're in the Blum area, Itasca, you're behind the strongest part of the storm here. Whitney's going to start clearing out pretty soon. So, hey, if you're in the green behind this kind of orange and yellow line, the worst is past you and your severe weather risk is coming down. Something that if you've been in the school lessons that I've been doing around the area recently, you've been in one of those lessons, you will know that you can get a lightning strike 30 miles outside of a storm. And that doesn't just mean in the front, that can be in the back as well. So not time to go outside unless absolutely necessary for whatever reason. But okay. Not sure what that was. I think that might have been a noise on my computer. I'm assuming. I'm going to go ahead and mute that. Okay. So tornado warnings continuing outside of our area. So not anything to be worried about there. I do want to zoom into Navarro County here. We are starting to see this moving into the Blooming Grove area. So winds will be picking up there as well as in Dawson and Hubbard there in Hill County. So this is that leading edge of the storm. And this really, when I look at velocity, it looks like this is probably where the strongest winds are. From Blooming Grove up to, about to the Ennis area in this section of the storm. And this is the section of the storm that was moving directly east while the rest of it was moving southeast. So driving winds moving into the Avalon area now, down to Blooming Grove there. Let's zoom in just a little bit more. So moving towards Bardwell now, over towards Rankin and Bird. down towards Berry and Blooming Grove and Frost there. This looks to be the strongest section of this storm. And there's a lot of people asking for areas that are way outside of the South Metro area. Let me just clarify for you that South Metro, as far as my definition of what this brand covers, is Ellis, Johnson, Hill, and Navarro counties. So that's what we're covering today. Forney is a little far out of my jurisdiction, so I don't think we'll be going there. I want to make sure that the folks covered in this brand are covered here. So this is, I think, where the strongest winds appear to be right now. So from, again, about Avalon over to Bardwell, Rankin, and Bird, down to Blooming Grove to Frost here, maybe a little bit into Martins area as well. So if we zoom out some, here's that new warning. So here's that new severe thunderstorm warning, just covering what is left of the storm in Ellis County. Again, if you're in Midlothian, Maypearl, Red Oak areas, it's cleared out there. This is the part of the storm from Ferris to Waxahachie to Italy. Strong winds, very heavy rain, lightning, thunder there. Again, fortunately, we're not really looking at a tornado threat at this moment. No tornado warnings have been issued for this area. We do have a tornado watch that continues until 10 p.m. But at this point, it looks like most of the tornado threat has been mitigated to our south, down in the Waco area. So fortunately, that is south of us, not including any of our particular area. We'll have to watch what happens with the storms in Waco to see if they try to move northward at all, possibly into southern portions of Navarro County. But I don't think that they will be. I think for the most part right now, we will be looking at mostly just, again, a wind threat for this particular area. So we zoom out one more time. Moving through Hill County, starting to clear out in Hillsborough now. Moving through western portions of Hill County there, starting to move west of I-35. Really from I-35 west is cleared out. East of there, though, still seeing some of those stronger winds, especially from Blooming Grove up to southern Waxahachie, really Lake Waxahachie area there. Probably where the strongest winds are. I had kind of that bow-shaped segment there. And then reaching up to Ferris as well. And we will put this into motion. See if I can. So you can kind of see the motion here. So just moving off to the east. And you can see this section of the storm just kind of moving with force here. So as that continues to move off to the east, that is where you're seeing those stronger winds. Down southwest of Waco, there is a tornado threat going on there right now. Not for our area, though. We have been very fortunate so far that we're not having to deal with any of that. So we continue to watch here, and as we get farther into Navarro County, we will be seeing that wind threat move that direction as well. And we have a new, severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Ellis County and Hill County. Let's review that really quickly. That's until 8:15, so about another 40 minutes here. And let's see, winds of up to 60 miles per hour. So 60 mile per hour winds are a threat in parts of eastern Ellis County and eastern Hill County right now. So that is that warning until 8:15, and until 8:15 as well here in Navarro County. So that is the warning that is issued there for parts of southern Hill County there until 8 o'clock. So that has about another 25 minutes here. And that as well as for 60 mile per hour winds. So 60 mile per hour winds appear to be the main concern for this area. And I would say up to 70 mile per hour possible, not very likely, mostly 60, maybe 65 miles per hour here. Still enough to do some damage, especially to some trees. But the good news is, again, we have not seen a tornado threat. Now, if you notice, we are starting to get kind of a bow shape to this line. So that could very well mean that we are looking at the possibility of these winds increasing as they continue to move east. So if you are in Navarro County, you do want to be watching this very, very closely. I'm going to move this over. And yes, if you are behind this line, if you're in Whitney, clearing out in Hillsborough now, Midlothian, Maypearl, Red Oak there, if you're in the green behind this red line here, kind of this orange and red and yellow line, then it is moving out of your area and things are calming down. There's some talk about some on the back end of the whole storm system, possibly getting some rain later tonight, but I don't think any of that will be severe. At that point, we will have pretty much cleared out most of this at that time. But I'm getting a lot of requests for reports northeast of here, Forney and Greenville, those areas. I won't be talking about those areas, not really part of the South Metro brand here. But getting more intense in Ennis now. So Ennis, you're starting to get the heaviest activity out of this. Blooming Grove and Dawson getting it as well. We'll be moving into Corsicana very shortly, moving into Alma and Rice very soon as well. So this will continue to move off to the east. And we'll kind of zoom into Navarro County here. And it's moving pretty quickly. Let's take a look. Is this still 40 to 50 miles per hour here? Okay, moving east at 50 miles per hour. So 50 miles per hour is pretty quick for these storms. So they will be continuing to move towards the Corsicana area at a pretty good clip. So Rice, Corsicana, Dawson here, you will be seeing these storms moving in very soon. And again, this is kind of the area where I'm most concerned about wind speeds. The warning says 60 miles per hour. I would say possibly even up to 70 miles per hour in some cases. The good news is we have not seen tornado risks or tornado threats or warnings or anything along this line yet. We've been able to avoid that. That's the good news. And we also have not seen much in terms of hail threats. I understand Navarro County may be tuning in very soon. If you have friends, family, neighbors in Navarro County, make sure that you're tagging them, sharing this, whatever the case is, to get those Navarro County folks tuned in as this storm will be moving into their area. And this storm's really talking. You know, it's funny, I wasn't hearing any kind of thunder or anything for the longest time, but I'm not really seeing that right now. And I've had some people before this this stream ask to see the cat, and he is very asleep right now. I'm going to let him stay asleep because there's also dinner, my dinner sitting on the counter here. I'm going to let him just not know about that. Keep those two things separated. Maybe we'll bring a cat in later. But the priority right now, of course, is the weather and the strong system that is pushing all of this into Corsicana. And let's take a broader view, just a big, broad view, so you kind of get an idea of what's going on. Tornado warning up towards the Paris area right now, and then tornado warnings from south of Waco down east of Killeen, so north of Round Rock there. So the tornado threat appears to be pretty much isolated to the area south of us. They can keep it there, and I don't mind at all that we have not seen a tornado threat in our particular area. We have been very fortunate for our area. Here's the South Metro area. Again, Ellis, Navarro, Hill, Johnson counties here. And the storm is moving through eastern Ellis County. So western portions of Ellis County are pretty much clear from this, but that's going to continue on. And, okay, all right, none of that relates to us. I'm just checking what some of the latest chatter in the conversation there with National Weather Service. But moving towards Corsicana right now, that's the heaviest part of this storm, especially towards Rice right now. So from Corsicana on to Rice to Alma, that's the strongest part of this storm right now, moving in the Ennis area. So that will be probably the biggest area of concern. But we do continue to have this moving into Ennis right now, and these severe thunderstorm warnings do continue until 8:15, 8:30, right around that area is when most of these are set to expire. And as I mentioned, if you are behind this line, Waxahachie will be calming down very soon. If you're behind this line, I mean, we're even clearing out completely in western Johnson County. So this line is moving at about 40 to 50 miles per hour. So moving pretty quickly here. Okay, we have a severe thunderstorm warning. Yeah. Now, I want to point something out here. Something to point out about Hill County here. So let's get down into Hill County where we have a severe thunderstorm warning for Hill County that is continued. I don't know if I didn't see this before or if I'm just now, if they're just now adding this, but the severe thunderstorm warning for McLennan and Hill counties has a tag on it. This is something new that they've started doing the last couple of years or so. They're putting tags on these severe thunderstorm warnings to note of particular threats, and it does mention tornadoes possible with this severe thunderstorm warning. Now, something I want to mention is that number one, this does include McLennan County, and most of the tornado threat has been south of Waco. So that could be a very generalized statement for a large warning. I don't see the kind of organization in the line that would necessarily necessitate a tornado threat in Hill County at this point, but it does mention, that's why I want to mention that to you in case you see that, but I'm thinking that most of the tornado threat in that severe thunderstorm warning they're mentioning is going to be down from Waco on south. So I don't think, in case you see that, I don't think that applies necessarily to the Hubbard area, which is the part of Hill County where this is moving through right now. I think we can safely say that there's no tornado warning or no tornado threat really attached to that. Want to keep our attention on Navarro County and southern Ellis County right now. You can see this section of the storm, and you can kind of see that bow shape moving right into Ennis right now. So this is probably where we're seeing the heaviest wind threat, and I would imagine that we might be looking at a little bit of a hail threat moving towards the Alma and Rice area here. So right where you saw those darker colors, this is the integrated liquid, vertically integrated liquid. That's technically what it's called. It tells us when we have more intense precipitation, and where you see the yellow there within this blue could be some small hail in that area. I don't think we have severe hail for that particular area, but could be some small hail as a part of that. But this is where we're seeing that. So you see the darker reds, kind of that brownish color. That's going to continue to move on to the east towards the Rice and Alma area. So if you're in that area, you want to make sure that you are keeping that in mind. And sometimes when you have the hail and the strong winds at the same time, man, you really can get something. When you have that blowing hail, that can really be an inconvenience. So the good news is we're not looking at large hail in that area, probably some small hail. But again, that can be a pretty big inconvenience for that area if in fact that is going on. So this is where the strongest winds are going to be. Most of these warnings are for winds 60 miles per hour. I would venture to say if you're in this particular area, winds of 65 to 70 miles per hour may not be out of the question. And I want to show you something on the velocity view. And again, if you've not seen this before, this is the view that shows us wind speed and wind direction. So where you see the yellow here from M House up towards the Ennis area, kind of continue to move off to the east, this is where we're seeing the strongest winds that are radar indicated. This is not confirmed, but this is where we're seeing the strongest winds at this point continuing to move off to the east. And I'm going to go back in the comment section here, and I know there's probably some folks from Navarro County that are tuning in here right now. So I'm going to go back in the comments and see if there's any kind of reports from that area. Hearing there's a lot of wind in the Blooming Grove area, that does fit there. I had someone ask about M House. If you're in the M House area, are you seeing those intense winds right now? That would be, it would be great to get kind of some confirmation of what we're seeing on radar. And I just saw somebody mention hail in the Bird area. So that makes sense with what we're seeing with some small hail being a part of this section of the storm, which this section of the storm does seem to be the strongest part of it. Okay, so they were talking about Lamar County there. So again, we continue to see stronger winds from Ennis down, moving into the Alma and Rice areas, now moving out of M House, moving towards I-45 here. So just keep that in mind. That is moving towards the interstate, as that interstate has a lot of strong winds with those 18-wheelers and those kind of things. Not exactly what you want to see going through an interstate like that. So definitely try to pay attention if you're going in that area, and if those strong winds are moving in, don't be afraid to pull over and give it some time. I understand there were some people running into a Buc-ee's somewhere. Don't overload Buc-ee's or anything. I it's an excuse to go in and get some good food, right? But don't stop under overpasses. That's the one thing you definitely don't want to do. You can impede emergency response if it should be needed. And when you're going over an overpass or going over an interstate like this, you definitely don't want to be dealing with getting under an overpass where you can impede the response to a car accident or something like that. So don't go under overpasses. Just an overall terrible idea. But this is where the yellow is where we're seeing the strongest winds. So that's going to continue to move off to the east towards the interstate there. And let's get back to the view that you're most kind of used to there. So that's we're watching some of the last few messages we've had come into the chat. Not really relevant here. And you're saying, why is no one talking about Ennis being under a tornado warning? A very simple answer, there is no tornado warning in Ennis. There is a tornado watch that has been issued that goes until 10 p.m., but no tornado warnings right now issued for Ennis. So unless the entire weather community here in this area is missing something, no tornado warnings in Ennis right now. So rest assured, we're not missing something. Hey, there's no tornado warning in the Ennis area right now. If the wind or if the sirens are sounding there, if that's what you're experiencing, it's probably for the strong wind threat in that area. And if you're judging that just based on the fact that they're winds, it's not rotating winds, it's straight line winds of 60 to possibly 70 miles per hour in that area. So Matt, I'm hearing that the Ennis Police Department posted something about a warning. If you could check that. I'm seeing some chatter that the Ennis Police Department may have erroneously posted a message about a tornado warning, and but I'm seeing something that was adjusted and that was fixed. So hopefully that is the case, and that was fixed there. There's not a concern, but you never know. And sometimes when you have a watch versus warning, that can cause some issues there. I'm going to their post right now. So I do see something about a tornado watch. Yeah, so they must have. Okay. Okay, so yeah, it looks like it was. Yeah, so it looks like there was a post that originally said it was a tornado warning, corrected to say that it was a watch. So I think that's what the situation was there, that they had erroneously posted, if I can get the full word out, that there was a warning in Ennis. Fortunately, it is just a watch, just a tornado watch that is in effect until 10 p.m., which is, I think, from what I could tell in some of the comments that I just happened to see, kind of tipped people off. Maybe that post of a warning was not accurate there. So good news is no tornado warning in Ennis, just the watch. But it may seem like there's a tornado warning in Ennis with all the wind that you're seeing, but those are straight line winds that are moving into that area. We go back to Navarro County here. Again, moving across 31 here. The winds just now reaching Highway 31 there, reaching 45 as well. Heavy rain starting in Rice. Strong winds going to be possible there as well. And there's that update. So moving into the Corsicana area as well. So again, moving right over 31 and on Interstate 45 there. So again, don't be afraid to pull over in your vehicle if you don't think that you want to drive through the wind and the rain and all the craziness going on. Definitely, though, do not pull over under an overpass. Terrible idea. You could cause some issues. I wish I had mentioned this an hour ago or so. How long have we been on the air here for? What, an hour, almost 2 hours here. Wish I would have mentioned that earlier, but now that it's moving over to 45, I can tell you, don't get under a bridge. That can impede emergency manager or emergency response. And frankly, that's just going to make a wind tunnel and make it even worse for you. So under a bridge, not a good option at all. So this line continues to move off to the east, and we'll put this into motion here just so you kind of get an idea of where things are going. Just marching on eastward across Navarro County right now. Hearing that there are some power outages in the Corsicana area. Power outages are not surprising, and let me tell you, if you see a green flash, odds are that is a power flash. That might well be a damage that has then been done to a transformer there. So if you're losing power in that area, if you heard a pop or saw a green flash, that's probably a power flash. And again, normally those would be referred or referenced in the situation of a tornado. Usually it takes those kinds of winds. But again, we're looking at winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour. There could be some transformers that are maybe older or weaker that could be causing those issues. But as this continues to move east, let's take another look at see if we can take a look at the velocity view here and just kind of see where those stronger winds are. So it's the same area from north of Corsicana through Rice and Alma there. Those are the strongest winds right now. So as this continues to move east, yeah, there's an update. So right across I-45 right now. Okay, I'm just reading the chat there to make sure we haven't missed something. But this is where those strongest winds are right now. Fortunately, not in not a large area, but large enough to where, again, Alma, Rice, and northern parts of Corsicana probably feeling that. Let's zoom a little bit to get some more communities up there. So Roan there and Valley Farms will be next in line for this. Looks like it's staying north of 31 here. So Powell and the Kearns community there, looks like the strongest winds should move to your north. That doesn't mean, though, that you couldn't still see some stronger winds involved in this. So as this continues to move off to the east, if you're along 31, I think from 31 southward, you won't see the strongest winds, but it does bear watching and paying attention to that. And I'm going to move my monitor over here to kind of focus on that. Now, something that I want to watch, and Matt, you may be catching this too. On the south side of Corsicana here, we're seeing kind of this sticking out, kind of this area that's popping out from the line. And the velocity looked like there could be something going on there. So we'll keep an eye on this just on the south side of Corsicana. Of course, the Office of Emergency Management, I understand, is covering the storm there. So I'm sure they are watching this as well. And we'll be able to bring updates. But we'll keep an eye on this as well on the south side of Corsicana. What I mentioned before, what I've mentioned with other storms like this in the Ellis County weather era, is that we sometimes can see very quick spin-ups along this line. And what concerns me about this, and yeah, you're starting to see kind of that hook here, what concerns me more about this is an eastward moving section. And so it almost makes this section of the storm a little bit more vulnerable to those inflow winds. We have caught up at this point to the outflow boundary. We're starting to get more inflow here. And so I will be watching this a little more to see if this could be an isolated area of rotation that we could be watching. Now, the velocity view has been a little bit messy here. So it's been a little bit tough to see anything too specific from that. And we are also farther away from the radar. So we're starting to look higher and higher up in the storm. So sometimes it can be tough with the KFWS radar in Burleson to really see a whole lot of what's happening here. But I have noticed that we are starting to see a little bit of a curvature here. And I want to show you on the velocity view as well that we are kind of seeing this area of stronger winds beginning to intensify kind of by itself. And that a lot of the times is what you look for along these lines. Okay, I'm watching to see where these new warnings are being issued. Yeah, so those are going to continue south of this area. So nothing immediately here, but we will continue to watch this area again, just south, but now southwest of Corsicana. Going to be heading towards probably south of 31 here. We'll have to pay attention to that and see. And you can see these straight line winds from 31, and does appear to be extending a little bit further south. So getting into Powell and on to Kearns, you will want to make sure you watch that. So right along 31 there will be the southern tip of these stronger straight line winds. But we will continue to watch this area just southwest of Corsicana, just near the Mildred area. So between Corsicana and Mildred, there's, again, that's 287 continuing there into Mildred and Eureka. But we'll continue to watch this area to make sure that we're not seeing some kind of circulation trying to wrap up there. Wow, hello. There's a big crack of thunder outside of the studio there. But this is what I'm watching, and that area, again, showing more signs that it's kind of separated from the storm a little bit. It's in plenty of inflow here, so plenty of opportunity for something to spin up there. And 9 times out of 10, these little spin-ups don't really go anywhere, but you do have to keep an eye on them because, as I mentioned before, these spin-ups can happen very quickly. And so it does bear watching. So we'll just stay trained on this, and I will tell you anywhere. We'll just do a really quick scan to show you that behind this line, if you're west of I-45, north of 287 here, we're west of 287, hey, you're done. We're clearing out in Johnson County already. More rain to be had, but behind this line, you are cleared out. Let's move this up a little bit. Southern Hill County, far eastern Ellis County, and now western Navarro County dealing with all of this as well. And there's a lot of warnings out right now. No tornado warnings for our area yet, but I'm just trying to kind of keep an eye on this. The warning for severe thunderstorm warning for Southern Hill County has been allowed to expire there. So we'll kind of do a refresh of all the warnings that are still active and no longer active in that area. But we are going to continue to watch this area between Corsicana and Mildred here to see what is going on there. It looks like that may not be quite as organized as it looked originally. Hopefully that is the case. But we do still need to pay attention to the fact that now between Rice and Valley Farm and on southward towards Corsicana, we still have some pretty strong winds. Again, 60 to 70 miles per hour winds. And a lot of circulation talk south of us, and looks like a lot of these severe thunderstorm warnings are expiring here. So we'll go back and show that here very shortly. It is just about 8 o'clock here, so some of those are expiring now. But the main area of winds and the heaviest rain is from about Corsicana up to Rice, up to Valley Farms, and areas, the Creechville area here east of Venice. This is where the strongest winds will be. So that's going to continue to move eastward. And so if you're in the Valley Farms area and the Roan area there, we have Martin Fort and Chatfield and Bezette. We have Currens here and Powell. All of these areas need to be prepared for strong winds. The good news is, again, we haven't had any tornado warnings here tonight. We haven't really had much of a hail threat for our area. But it does bear watching that you could get some stronger winds out in these areas. And if there's a lot of flat area here, and I know in Currens, just outside of there you have a lake as well. So could be more of a wind threat with less to break the wind for your area. So definitely keep that in mind for that particular area there. Now we'll go out and show that the only severe thunderstorm warnings that are active right now, really for the South Metro area, is in Navarro County. Ellis County, the warning has been allowed to expire there. Johnson County is clearing out nicely. Only southern parts of Hill County now. It looks like the severe part of the storm has left there. And again, the strongest winds, now I would argue that east of Ennis, there could be severe winds in that area. So I don't know if they want to go ahead and issue a warning. It's such a small part outside of the warning area here, such a small part of eastern Ellis County that they may not issue a warning specifically for that area. But it does bear watching and mentioning that as this line continues to move off to the east, and Rice will start to calm down. Rice and Alma will start calming down pretty soon. It's starting to move east of Corsicana, but you can see this shape, this bow shape here, definitely bears watching. And of course, I'm just keeping an eye on the velocity view that I have off camera here. I want to make sure that we're staying on top of that. But as we continue to watch, this is the area that we're seeing the strongest winds. Again, 60 to 70 miles per hour. And that's going to continue to move off towards the Currens area and Powell here. Again, as we get closer, we're looking at Valley Farms here in Navarro County, but you get into Henderson County here. So I know there was someone in the Gun Barrel City area that will be moving towards you if you're still watching. But we are looking at this already starting to move out of Navarro County as far as this strong wind threat is concerned. That will be moving out of that area. And, again, we'll continue to watch Navarro County here. Fortunately, south of Corsicana, we have heavy rain moving across, but I'm not seeing much of a wind threat going on in that area there. So does not look like we are looking at much of a wind threat for southern south of Corsicana. I'll say southern Navarro County right now. It looks like that area should be fine. But strong winds are in this kind of boat out section that we are watching there. And again, we'll do one more kind of look at the rest of the area. Hill County here, no warnings active there. Clearing out nicely in Johnson County, and most of Ellis County is clear here. Far eastern sections of Ellis County looks like that's starting to clear out here. We're still looking at, again, a small part of Ellis County still getting this strong wind section here, and this bowing out section. And again, just watching more of what the National Weather Service is saying. So this is going to continue to move east, starting to move into Henderson County here. But I would be, again, concerned if you're in the Powell area, Kearns, up to, that's Toole there in Henderson County. So north of 31, this is where we're seeing those strong winds. And you can see, again, I mentioned earlier how this is starting to kind of smooth out on the front. That's when you're going to start to see some of those stronger winds pushing through. And I'm going to continue to keep an eye on this. Let's take a look at the velocity view here, because I don't think my other view is keeping track of it. Now, a couple of things. So, yeah, this is what we're looking at for the moment, where this yellow here, this is where the strongest winds are. So it's now east of Valley Farms, east of Roane, moving into Henderson County here. Does look like most of that is north of Powell and Kearns. So it does look like it will mostly pass by those areas. Between Mildred and Eureka, this was the area I was kind of watching for the possibility of some rotation. Looks like if there is any kind of circulation at all there, it's probably not very intense, probably just really disorganized at this point, not really much of a concern. And then there's a lot of kind of noise here, but I'm not seeing much of a wind threat south of Corsicana. You know, south of Powell doesn't look like we're really looking at anything. So I think from 31 north is really where this is kind of isolated to. And you could have some stronger winds in the Wortham area there, far southern Navarro County there, but I don't think that we're really looking at any kind of concern in regards to that. You go further out, and you know, from southern Navarro County, going on east of Waco there, that's the part of the storm where there was more concern about rotation. But again, that's not a factor in Navarro County, in the Corsicana area here. So we have the stronger winds. We have the area where we were a little bit concerned about some rotation. Not really seeing that at this moment. Not seeing anything of true consequence. And then the Corsicana area, things are calming down there. Probably still some heavy rain and that sort of thing. And we'll go back to that radar view that everyone's so familiar with, that reflectivity. So from Corsicana south, plenty of heavy rain, lightning, thunder, gusty winds, but definitely not the 60-plus mile-per-hour winds that we're looking at from 31 on north. At least that's not a part of the calculus at this point. And something else that we're going to pay attention to, again, is, and let me help you understand that when we see these areas of possible rotation, there's a number of times when they last very briefly, right? Sometimes it's a frame or two. What I'm watching right now, south of Powell, right around the Elm Flat area, I try to watch these areas, these kind of isolated areas of increased wind speeds here. And this is one kind of in the, now this is just south of this bow echo. And that, again, that's an area I would watch, because when you're on the south end of it, that's sometimes where the inflow is mostly going to be pulled in. So we will be watching just south of Powell, again, the Elm Flat area. Matt, I don't know if you see anything about circulation in Navarro County. I haven't seen anything at all in National Weather Service chat talking about that. Okay, so yeah, just no indications, right? Nothing screaming about rotation right now. But again, these can happen so quickly that it is worth watching. And before this moved into Corsicana, the Navarro County area, I mentioned that this would be the point when it was moving through Navarro County when I thought we would have a higher risk of circulation, because at that point, this line will have overtaken the outflow boundary. The outflow boundary was going to kind of cut off that inflow, so that would mitigate the tornado risk for those areas. But, you know, when you're talking about having overcome that, that outflow boundary, yeah, you're going to see a little bit more opportunity for this inflow to come in, interact with this outflow, and possibly have these brief spin-ups. And of course, this is the severe thunderstorm warning that we're seeing here. So just, you know, bear in mind there too. Now, something that I'm seeing here, and Matt, I hope you're watching this as well, is that we do have, and it's something that we try to watch for, is the green and the red working together. Again, there's a lot of noise in this line as far as the radar is concerned, but I do feel like I'm seeing a bit of a trend here that unless this is some kind of really coincidental noise here, we could be looking at some rotation trying to develop in that area. This is just to the southwest of Kearns here. So Kearns here, this is 31, Highway 31 there. Just south of there, we could be looking at some rotation attempting to spin up there. And this is just the latest scan here. So it looks like it could be tightening up a little bit, but again, that may not last very long. Most of these little circulations don't. By the next scan, it could be gone completely. But we will continue to keep an eye on this as this continues to move off to the east. So we'll watch this. And okay, still not seeing any kind of discussion about it in the National Weather Service conversation here. Now, yes, just to address something in the comments there. Once the squall line does pass you, you are done for the night. We could have some showers, possibly a thunderstorm or two, as the back end of this system comes in. Could have some wraparound moisture, but I don't really think that we're going to be seeing anything severe out of that line. Somebody asking about Waxahachie. Waxahachie should be clear at this point. Not expecting to see anything further out of the Waxahachie area. Again, overnight could be some additional showers as we get some of that wraparound moisture. But as we're watching this area just northeast of Elm Flat, just southwest of Kearns, again, the possibility of trying to see something spin up here, and you know, I'm not expecting anything major out of this. And again, it could by the time we get one more scan. That could be gone. Okay, so the next scan, it does look less organized. So yeah, that could have just been a very quick attempt at a spin up or something, but that does now look less organized. So I want to now kind of focus on what's left of this wind threat coming into the Kearns area here. So as this continues to kind of ride the north side of 31 towards the Kearns area and on to the rest of Navarro County, that's going to continue to bring probably right around 60 mile per hour winds, 60 to 65 maybe mile per hour winds for that area. And let's get back to that reflexivity and just kind of show all of Navarro County here. So again, this is where we're seeing those stronger winds. We were watching this area here for some possible attempts at some circulation. We'll keep that in the periphery and kind of keep an eye on that. Seeing reports of up to 76 mile per hour winds in Corsicana. And I'm willing to bet that was probably earlier this evening. That is a report, looks like an automated report there. So winds of up to 76 miles per hour in Ennis. In Corsicana, pretty impressive, and that was probably again with this section of that storm that moved through. Corsicana should be mostly calming down now, most of that moving through, and south of Corsicana definitely some heavier rain, but not quite the wind threat for that area right now. So if you're south of 31, from Mildred on down to Curry there, down to El Dorado Center, these areas are getting plenty of heavy rain. But good news is I think the wind threat is definitely not what it is in other parts of the county for sure. So we'll kind of do a larger view. This severe thunderstorm warning for Navarro County does continue for just a few more minutes. And I think that will probably be allowed to expire. There is the other warning that continues until 9:30. So about an hour and 15 minutes left on the eastern part of the rest of this warning. Some of that may be allowed to expire, though, after that moves out of Navarro County. Because, again, once that moves out of your area, you're done for the night. So we'll actually go do a broader view of the whole area. Let me get this text box out of the way there. Nope. Stay zoomed out there. Okay. So here is the line. Now has cleared Hill County, cleared Ellis, cleared Johnson County. So all of these areas are behind this main line here. You're done with the severe weather risk tonight. Still some showers, possibly a thunderstorm or two mixed in there. Mostly rain, though, for those areas. But for Navarro County is at this point the only location left where this severe line of storms continues. So as this continues to move off to the east, you have one warning which starts here, goes back to the edge of Navarro County, that expires here in just a minute or two. And I'm assuming that will probably be allowed to expire because at this point the severe section of the storm is in the new warning that goes from about Corsicana on eastward towards now you're going over towards Palestine there in the next county next door. So this other warning will probably be allowed to expire because at this point any wind threat is going to be from north of Kearns all the way down to Wortham there. So Corsicana will be clearing out very soon. Dawson and Blooming Grove and Rice, things have calmed down there. Again, if you're behind this line, I've got a lot of people very far west. They're still watching this thing, wondering if we're clear. If you're behind this line, if this has moved through, Ellis County and Johnson County and Hill are cleared out. The line has moved past those areas. This is what's left of it in the South Metro area. So moving through Corsicana right now, clearing out of Corsicana very soon, cleared out of Dawson already. So the communities that are still dealing with this, again, Richland there, moving into Eureka now, moving right into the Kearns area. Again, the strongest winds really, and it's pretty well defined on this view, from the very tip you see here on north up towards Kemp, so into Henderson and Kaufman counties there. That's the strongest winds. So those are about to exit Navarro County to the east. And then some heavier rain will move into the Kearns area. Stronger winds there, of course, now, but not near the intensity that you had before. So for a large part, for the most part at least, Navarro County is pretty well out of the woods for most of that severe weather threat. We haven't had much of a hail threat at this point, and it's mostly just been strong winds at this point. And so seeing that there's another outflow boundary coming up, that will mitigate circulation possibilities as well in this area. Let me kind of get back to just kind of reevaluating, recentering myself here. I've got several sources of information that I want to make sure that we are watching. Anything new on your end, Matt? Okay. Should be pretty much at this point just mostly heavy rain, maybe some gusty winds across Navarro County right now. I think, I look at the velocity view here in my periphery. I'm not really seeing anything alarming at this point. Plenty of heavy rain and some gusty winds, but for the most part, Navarro County has been spared a lot of the intensity, at least most of it, from Kearns on southeast, or southwest rather, is the remainder of this heavy rain. And I do think that, let me see, I believe the rest of that, I believe that severe thunderstorm warning for the western portions of Navarro County was able to expire. So the only part of this warning that includes Navarro County right now is just the eastern half of Navarro County included in that severe thunderstorm warning now. And that goes until 9:30, but that doesn't mean that all of Navarro County will be included in that until 9:30. I think once this moves through in the next 20, 30 minutes or so, that warning will probably be carved back a little bit, and some of that will be kind of reduced a little bit as you go forward. But there's still parts of Navarro County that haven't gotten the heaviest stuff yet. So just now moving into Currens, going to be moving towards rural shade there very soon, just now moving into Eureka. And I think that's Winkler there over right on the line here of Navarro County. Just moved into Richland there, so this continues to move off to the east. And this has been moving. Let's check and see what the speed is here. Yeah, so let's see. Moving east at 30 miles per hour. So this line is slowing down, and I've kind of felt that. It seems like it's taking a little longer to move than it was before. We were looking at this line moving 40 to 50 miles per hour before. Now they're saying 30 miles per hour. So the fastest moving section of this storm is the windiest right now. That's moving out of the county. And then from about Currens, the east, the side of Corsicana on down to the corner of the county, that's where we're mostly just seeing heavy rain at this point. So for the most part, at this point, I think Corsicana, the Navarro County area, so Blooming Grove is definitely behind it, but from Corsicana on down towards Wortham, and even really for the Currens area, I think for the most part, the severe weather threat has passed for that area. The warning does continue for some time here, but I do think that we are mostly done with that severe weather risk. Now, we can pivot a little bit here, and with this line now slowing down, and it seems like this kind of happens when this gets into the eastern sections of the area. With the line slowing down, the other issue we have is the potential for flooding. We have Richland Chambers Lake in this area. We have some creeks and other bodies of water in this area. So as this begins to slow down and the rain rates don't slow down, you could start to see more of a flooding risk. So I think for eastern Navarro County, eastern and southern Navarro County, that may be where the concern really shifts there. So for the most part, I think really the biggest issue at this point, I think, is going to be a flooding risk for parts of Navarro County. So that will bear watching as well as we get into the next several minutes here. But overall, the wind threat, certainly any kind of tornado threat, I don't think we're looking at any kind of concerns in those areas. Most of the tornado threat stayed south of us, down southwest of south of Waco in that area, and did not make it up to Navarro County. So they can keep it there. Looks like they kept it to themselves. Didn't share with us. We're very thankful for that. Still a lot of people in other parts of the area that are watching this. And from west to east, rain kind of filled in there, but from west to east, Johnson County should start to dry up. Western parts of Hill County drying up here as well. The main line, the rest of this, is now pushing through eastern and southern Navarro County here. That's going to continue to move off to the east here. We'll put this into motion so you can kind of see what we're talking about here. That's going to continue to move off to the east, and as it does, if you're behind it from Corsicana on east and on north, you're done. Things are done. You're done with the severe weather, the intense weather. Plenty of rain still falling there from Hillsboro on up to Waxahachie, up to southern parts of Dallas. But the main line is just going to continue to march off into East Texas, become their problem overnight, and all of us should be going to bed at a reasonable and decent hour for most severe weather events in North Texas. A lot of times, these develop off in West Texas a lot farther out and take a lot longer to get here. This system, part of the reason the winds were such a concern is this system was booking it 50, 60 miles per hour sometimes, making its way, but it slowed down as it's moved across North Texas and now moving 30 to 40 miles per hour, which again is why I'm a little more concerned about flooding at this point, because as it slows down, you're getting more rain, higher rain rates over one particular area. So when we look at the rain amounts tomorrow, and I'll try to include that in the forecast update tomorrow morning, we could very well be dealing with higher rain amounts in Navarro County than the rest of the area because it moves so quickly. It's hard to accumulate too much rain in most of those areas. And the only severe thunderstorm warning we have left is this that goes until 9:30, but I think by 9 o'clock this is out of here and we're done with it. This pretty much clears the area. Now, there is a tornado warning that goes until 10 p.m. Now, I'm not sure. We can actually pull that up here. I'm curious to see if that has been cleared out of our area now. If that is being trimmed back, I haven't seen anything about that. It doesn't look like it. So this is the tornado watch where you see the dark red here. That's the tornado watch, and you can't see it through the radar. But it doesn't look like they've carved any of this back. But if you are behind this line, you're past the tornado threat. So even though you're still covered by that tornado watch, at this point, things are calming down. I don't think you really have to be too terribly concerned about that. We'll go ahead and take that off, though. It can make it a little bit harder to see where those specific warnings are at this time. And as we get through the rest of this storm, currently moving through Navarro County, moving still at a decent clip, moving about 30 to 40 miles per hour, continuing to move off to the east, especially that leading edge, you can see how the rain is kind of filtering northward. So again, if you're flood prone in this area, if you're in an area where flooding tends to happen, you're next to a creek or a lake or something and you have those issues, or you're in a low area where water tends to just kind of congregate, I would pay attention to this maybe, as you could have a flooding issue beginning to populate because we're not getting the rain out as quickly, and there's plenty of rain behind this. You see from Italy on to Ennis there, back to Waxahachie, plenty of rain to be had in those areas. So hey, you're not done with the rain overnight, but once this moves out, you are done with the severe weather. Let's get that text box out of your way there. This mouse has not been agreeing with me. I think it's tired at this point. But this is just mostly heavy rain, maybe a few, maybe a little bit of a windy area there. Okay. Looks like my wife Terry is commenting and is showing up as South Metro weather there. Okay. Yeah, I would love to eat my dinner. That would be great. So as soon as this storm skedaddles on east, hey, I'll go probably microwave this a little bit, warm it up a little bit and eat it. But hey, I'm here for the long haul. So this continues to move off to the east slowly. We have some heavier rain that is in the Wortham area, and you can see that the whole system is moving east, but the rain is kind of filtering northward. So this heavier rain in the Wortham area, so I want to focus on that just because, as I mentioned, we could be looking at more of a flooding threat. So this area of heavy rain filtering northward towards the Richland area. Of course, as all of this is going to continue to move off to the east, as it continues to move off to the north, if you're on 45 here, south of Eureka, that area, if you're in the far southern Navarro County area where this is headed, you could be looking at some flooding issues because it could take a little longer to get all this heavy rain out of your area. So just keep in mind, if you're in a flood-prone area, that does need to be watched. But for the most part, this is continuing to move off to the east. This will be calming down quite a bit. Corsicana is going to start calming down for sure very soon. But at this point, I don't really see any stronger winds in this area, just mainly heavy rain. As this continues on, this severe thunderstorm warning will probably be shaved back very soon to accommodate the fact that the severe weather risk has moved to the east. I will continue to watch this part of the storm. I think we can go ahead and wrap up the stream here, get this wrapped up and let you go about your time. And as this continues to move east, I will continue to watch this, but I can tell you that at this point, the strongest winds are moving from Malakoff north of there as this continues to move off to the east. But as we look at the whole area, we'll put this into motion one more time. So eastern parts of Hill and Johnson counties clearing out already here. You can see this clearing out from southwest to northeast. And you can even see this dry area pushing northward. So a bit of a dry slot developing there. And I'm not even sure. It's almost, if I'm not wrong, it looks like we're almost getting a little bit of a rotation. There could be a little bit of a mesoscale convective vortex trying to develop there. So time will tell, but we still have plenty of rain going through Ellis County here. And again, that could cause some flooding concerns where you've received a lot of rain in a short amount of time, and now there's going to be a more steady rain for the next several minutes. But all of this is clear, and really just eastern portions of Navarro County now getting you're behind the you're behind the main front line here that has the gustier winds, really not even very strong winds with this section, but the rain continues to move off to the east. I'm seeing that there are still folks in Navarro County without power. I'm pretty sure all four of Ellis, Johnson, Hill, and Navarro counties probably all have power outages at this point, thank you to those strong winds. So I'm sure there are plenty of outages out across the area, not just in Navarro County. But of course, you'll just have to follow your normal procedures to report those outages. And I know that the Navarro County Electric Cooperative that I actually am served by here does a very great job at responding to those things. So if you are on that Navarro County Cooperative, they do a great job. If you're TXU or another Encore service, hey, you just have to report that to them, and I'm sure they will be out in force working all night to clear those things up. So I think we can go ahead and wrap up the stream here. Thank you so much for watching. If there are further updates that need to be brought about any kind of severe conditions tonight, I would very highly doubt that there would be. All that's left for Navarro County here is just some heavy rain moving through the eastern parts of the county, but I will continue to bring those updates to you as needed. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of the night.